Okay, so hello everyone, in this video we will discuss the topic on why timing belts break. Now this video is inspired by a question I got from Tommy. He said, I have a Mitsubishi L200 but keeps breaking the timing belt, broken 2 belts in 6 months. And also I see this common in Facebook groups, and all too often the blame would go on a cheap timing belt. Now I'll be honest with you, I have never tried replacing a timing belt that is original or bought from Mitsubishi service center itself. Okay, I've tried maybe at least 4 belts already, 3 belts on this engine and another on my friend's vehicle. I've tried Gates, Bando, and I don't recall the other one, and this one is Mitsubishi, which I doubt is really from Mitsubishi, and all those belts cost me about somewhere around 1,300 to 1,700 pesos, more or less, and I've never experienced breaking one before. So like the common claim on Facebook groups, are cheap belts really to blame? That's why before I made this video, I did a little research first, and I tell you I haven't found a single post or article that puts the blame on cheap belts. I, however, found this. I'll share a link to this in the description below. Now just so you know, okay, I repeat, I am not associated or affiliated with that link. I just want to share this with you because I believe it is helpful. Now this list doesn't only enumerate why timing belts break, but it also illustrates possible causes. For instance, if you see the belt break in this manner, it tells you what to look for, and if it's a straight cut break, it also tells you the possible causes. So should you experience a broken timing belt, this would serve as a good reference in order to help you pinpoint why it broke. Now I made a list as to what I believe is the most likely culprit for timing belt failure, especially if it failed within just a matter of months or maybe a year or two, like that of Tommy's. He's broken 2 belts only in 6 months. And these are improper belt installation, improper belt tension, foreign object, and component seizure. So let's discuss them one by one. Now I will dare say the most common cause of timing belt failure is improper installation. I'm not saying improper engine timing, okay? I'm saying improper installation. Meaning before you install the belt, you did not check it first, and you should do that. Take your time. Check for cracks and imperfections all over the belt. Check this side as well as this side. Check each tooth. Be patient, okay? All too often we have this tendency to think that just because it's new, then it should be flawless, and that is not always the case. So should you find any imperfections, especially a crack here, okay, replace that timing belt even if it's new. Okay, like I said, check all over. Be patient. Another possible reason prior to installation is folding the belt or stepping on the belt, something like that, okay? Once that happens, when you fold this belt like this, you are going to create a weak point on that belt. So better replace it even if it's new, okay? This, by the way, I've already cut this. Another reason for improper installation is using tools to help you install the belt, such as a screwdriver, a pair of pliers, or vice grips. As you can see, it even says here, do not crimp, meaning do not do this. Now I have already shown how to install the timing belt on this video, okay? So just watch this one. But for the sake of illustration, when installing a timing belt, avoid doing this, okay? Using a screwdriver to help you install the belt. Or worse, I'm sorry about that, using a pair of pliers, crimping it like so, or a vice grip, okay? You should be able to do that by hand, and if you can't, don't force it, okay? Start all over again. Like I've said, just refer to this video on how to do it. Another possible reason, and I would still consider this as improper installation, is installing this flange incorrectly, okay? I'll show you. See, even on this 45.6 manual, it specifically says pay special attention to the direction of the flange. If it is installed incorrectly or in the wrong direction, a broken timing belt could result. So I'll show you, okay? This is how it is supposed to be installed. Okay, let me remove the sprocket for the main timing belt and this flange, and let's try to turn that around and let's see how it is going to sit. As you can see, there's a huge gap there, and should we place the main sprocket, you see there's a huge gap. Now that can cause your timing belt to be misaligned and is going to rub up against this flange, and wear and tear is going to take place, and eventually your belt is going to fail. Okay, so just so I can show you again, I will turn that back around. As you can see, no more space, and the sprocket for the main timing belt. So that's how it is supposed to go. Okay, now another possible reason when it comes to improper installation is using the wrong type of belt itself. Now I've already made mention of that in this video, okay, so just refer to this video. But anyway, what I'm talking about is there are belts that are round shape that should go to fit that cog, and there are flat type tooth belt. Okay, so take note of that. It should fit perfectly. See, it should fit like that. Now the proper belt tension for this engine 456 is 5 mm deflection, meaning if you push down on this belt, you should only have a deflection of at least 5 mm. Now 5 mm is only this much, okay, so it's important to get this correct. Now very low or poor tension could lead to timing belt failure. When I was new to DIY or fixing my engine on my own more than a decade ago, and I decided to replace the timing belt, I was foolish and naive enough to believe a suggestion made by someone. He said when it comes to timing belt tension, you should only let the spring on this tensioner put tension on the belt and just release it like that. Try to rotate the crankshaft, and as you do, the idea is the tensioner is going to apply tension on the belt on its own, and then just tighten this down. And as you can see, hold on, that is still very loose. See? And this is the result of that. You see, the belt was too loose, it was slacking and rubbing up against this lower timing belt cover. That is why this is deformed, brought about by the friction of the belt rubbing up against it. Fortunately enough, I noticed that early on, and when I checked the timing belt, the back was already very worn out. So I learned my lesson, and that is why I am sharing this with you. I'll show you, okay? This lower timing belt is supposed to go like that, and it's rubbing up against on this side. I will show you what a loose belt looks like, okay? So should we turn this crankshaft, we will see a huge slack being created on this side, okay? See? See that? See, now that is very loose. See how loose that is? Now that is the belt slack that is causing the timing belt to rub up against the timing belt cover. That is why this is deformed. On the other hand, when we apply the correct belt tension, see, at least 5 mm belt deflection, we should not see this produce a slack when we turn the crankshaft, okay? I'm gonna give that one complete rotation, okay? Pay attention, see? No slack is produced. That is correct belt, timing belt tension. See? So very important to apply the correct timing belt tension. Very low or poor belt tension is not good. In the same manner, over tensioning your belt is not good as well. Now, as you can see on this belt, you see this has ply in it. and this belt is not designed to stretch. Now I'm very sorry, okay? I thought I was recording because I wanted to show you what over-tensioning your belt would lead to, and this is actually the result of that. It doesn't really take much to break this belt. Basically what I just did is, and I don't want you to do this, okay? Please don't do this. I just buttress this wrench, okay, on this water pump and turn the crankshaft. Now I tell you, it doesn't really take much effort, okay? It only took very minimal effort to snap this in half, and this is the result of that. So like I've said, just refer to this video on how to install the belt. Just take note of the 5mm deflection, okay, and try to rotate the crankshaft a couple of times like I've shown earlier. And you do not want to see the belt producing a slack as you turn the crankshaft, okay? While you do not want it to loose, you also do not want it too tight. Another most likely culprit would be a foreign object getting wedged in between the sprocket and the belt. A more common scenario would be a bolt or a nut that came loose and got wedged in between here. See? Something like that. And this is the reason why in this video I said not to let your engine idle too low, because when you do, your engine will tend to vibrate more, and as it does, it will cause components, bolts and nuts to come loose. Now imagine this bolt comes loose that holds the tensioner pulley in place, and as it does, this falls down there and gets wedged in between the sprocket and the belt, and as your engine is running, that is going to rip your timing belt apart. Now, component seizure means the component that the belt is trying to pull and turn seizes or gets stuck up or becomes difficult to turn. And when it becomes stuck or difficult to turn, that will unnecessarily apply additional burden on the belt, hence the belt eventually breaks. For instance, on this video, I had to condemn the balancers by removing the balancer belt. The balancer became difficult to turn. It did not, however, break the balancer belt, but the sprocket and the notch on the shaft got eaten away. So that is an example of component seizure. Now, if you look at this tree, the timing belt is being driven by the crankshaft, and as this turns, it will pull the timing belt, pulling and turning the fuel pump as well as the camshaft. And this is only an idler pulley designed to apply constant tension on the timing belt. Now, out of these three components, including the idler pulley, four in all, I would say the most difficult component to turn would be the camshaft, because as you see, as this camshaft turns, this cam is going to actuate these rocker arms, pushing down on those valves, and as you see, those valves are constantly spring loaded. That is why this becomes difficult to turn. I'll show you. We will try to turn the camshaft, okay? Only the camshaft. We will try to turn it by hand using this torque wrench, and let's see how much torque it requires to turn this camshaft. But before that, we need to make sure that the valves and the pistons are not going to hit each other, okay? Because this is an interference engine, like I've already discussed in this video. So if you want to know more about that, just watch this video, okay? So if we look here and we see this timing mark aligned on that arrow, that means the position of the pistons are in this manner. See that timing mark? That means two pistons are all the way up and these two pistons are all the way down. However, we can also see a mark here. You see that? And if we turn the crankshaft and align that mark on that arrow, okay, do that slowly. Hope you can see that. Okay, almost. Okay, like that. So the timing mark is in this position. That means, unlike this one, these two pistons now are all the way up and these two are all the way down. So in order for us to rotate the camshaft freely and avoid the valves hitting or interfering with the pistons, we need to position the pistons in this manner. So if this mark means two pistons are all the way up and these two are all the way down, and this mark means these two are all the way up and these two are all the way down, so we rotate the crankshaft halfway. That will bring the position of the pistons in this manner. Okay, so we can rotate the camshaft, the valves won't hit the pistons. So I will now rotate this halfway. Okay, okay, I believe that's enough. So let me remove the belt so that we can turn the camshaft on its own. So let's try to rotate the camshaft. Now ideally it would be better to use a beam type torque wrench, but I don't have one, so I'll use this. Okay, so let's start with 10 pounds, the lowest setting on this torque wrench. Okay, so let's see. And it's clicking. See, let's try to add another pound, and it's still clicking. Another pound, that brings us to 12 pounds, starting to turn. Let's try to bring that to 13 pounds, and it's still turning. See, how about 14 pounds, and it began to turn. So this camshaft requires at least 14 pounds of torque in order to rotate this. So that means 14 pounds of force applied on the timing belt. Let's do that on the fuel pump. Okay, I'll bring this down back to 10 pounds, and let's see. And that rotates easily enough. The torque wrench is not clicking, so that means this requires less than 10 pounds to rotate. Now granted, the most difficult part to rotate in this engine is the crankshaft, if we are going to do that via by hand or with a torque wrench. But we are going to look at it from the perspective that this engine is running, and the main driving force is the crankshaft turning the fuel pump as well as the camshaft. That is why it is very important that this right here is lubricated with oil in order to make it easier to turn the camshaft and actuate the rocker arms. In any event, should you open this valve cover and find this right here dry, then that is an indication that there is a problem with your oil circulation. Oil is not getting to this area to lubricate the camshaft and the rocker arms, and that will eventually cause the camshaft difficult to turn, and it will eventually seize or get stuck, and your timing belt breaks. Now another possible reason with regard to component seizure is over tightening these camshaft bearing bolts. See that? See, these are the camshaft bearing caps. Now if you over tighten these bolts, see, you are squeezing the camshaft, making it even more difficult to turn. So that is why it's very important to apply the correct torque needed when tightening down the camshaft bearing caps. So when tightening this down, you need to apply only 14 pounds of torque, like shown on this manual. See, 14 pounds. So start in the middle, okay, and work your way out. Start here, and then here, 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 here. Just imagine that the rocker arms are not yet installed, as well as the rocker arm shaft. So start in the middle and then work your way out. So like I've said, just imagine we're installing the camshaft and the camshaft bearing bolts, okay, without the rocker arms as well as the shaft for the rocker arms. So start in the middle. I won't directly go to 14 pounds. I'll start with 10 pounds. So I'll do that, okay, and then work my way out here, and then here, 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 okay, and so on and so forth. And then I will bring that to the final torque of 14 pounds, and then start all over again, just like that. Like I've said, work your way out. So if you do this correctly, okay, just like that, and then last here, okay, just like that, then repeat it just to make sure. See, all too often I see people taking apart an engine and putting it back together without using a torque wrench. And if you just use an ordinary wrench, you risk over tightening the camshaft bearing caps, and when that happens, you risk the possibility of camshaft seizure. So if you do that correctly, we should be able to turn this by hand. Okay, I'll show you. Please take a good note of my hands, okay, the position of my hands, because I don't want you to hurt yourself while doing this. Okay, left hand here, right hand here, and I'll pull this. Okay, and I'll be mindful not to wedge my fingers and hands in between here. Okay, so you should be able to turn that by hand, you see, and I can do that by hand. Now if any case you won't be able to do that by hand, meaning there's something wrong with your cylinder head, meaning it's possible that the camshaft bearings are way too tight or the valves are stuck. Now don't get me wrong, okay, I don't always use a torque wrench except on parts which I believe is imperative that an equal amount of force must be applied, like tightening down the cylinder head, the camshaft bearing caps, or the Conrad bearings, the crankshaft bearings. So those are what I believe the most likely causes for timing belt failure, especially if the belt failed within just a couple of months or within just a year or two. Now other causes may be by reason of oil or coolant leaks. But timing belts are designed to be tough, and it should not fail just by reason of ordinary use. Like I've said, should it fail within just a couple of months or within a year or two, then there must be some underlying factor that caused it to fail, and I doubt it's by reason of a cheap timing belt. So to prove my point, I'm willing to turn my engine into a guinea pig. This right here is the cheapest timing belt that I could get my hands on. I bought this for only 900 pesos. Now I'm not saying that you should do this, okay? I'm not even recommending this brand, because I myself am not entirely sure, but I am willing to sacrifice this engine for all of us to find out. So should this fail within just a couple of months or within just a year or two, then we can conclusively say that a cheap timing belt is to be blamed. I also bought a new lower timing belt cover online. I paid for maybe 800 or 900 pesos for this, and there's one problem that I've noticed. You see, both are identical. It even comes with a rubber seal, but the problem is, see, if you look at that, this is inverted, see? Because it should be upside down. See, it's supposed to look like that. T80DC after top dead center, 4, 7, 10 degrees. And if you look at this, see, it is reverse. That's a problem. That's the problem with buying things online. My take is most probably the manufacturer, when they were making a mold for this, they did this in reverse or inverted. That's why it's like this. So what I intend to do is I will just transfer the markings here and do something like this, and then I will just mark that with a hacksaw, okay? Then I won't bother about this one. Okay, so as you can see, there's my new reference point. This top dead center, then 4, 7, and 10 degrees after top dead center, just like on this one. Now say what you want to say about this being not perfect, but at least this is still better than this one, because this is already deformed. Okay, so everything's back in place with the exception of the upper timing belt cover. Our new cheap timing belt is in place. Our new lower timing belt cover is already installed. Okay, I already performed a tune-up like I did in this video. And let's start this engine, and then I'm going to let this idle for 20 minutes and let's see. Okay, so I will let this idle for 20 minutes. Okay, so let's try to take a better look. And as you can see, the belt is perfectly aligned, not wobbling, no slot. See, I'll try to rev this a little. That's it. So there it is. Our new cheap timing belt worth 900 pesos is installed. Will it last? I am not sure. Actually, I'm afraid. But should it fail, we can then conclusively say that a cheap timing belt is to be blamed, like what most say in Facebook groups. And let's just look at the bright side. Should the belt break and lead to catastrophic engine failure, like I've said in this video, then that might be the subject of our new repair video. So I will be using this belt from now on. So if you want to know if this belt will last, if you want to know if this is still working, just ask me in the comments below and I will be glad to give you an update. Like I've said, I do not recommend this belt. I do not recommend that you do this. I'm just doing this just for the sake of science, just so we can conclusively say if timing belt failure is caused by cheap timing belts. So anyway, I will end it here. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it informative. Let me know in the comments below what you think. And if you're new to my channel, like, share, subscribe if you want to. Only if you want to. And as always, thank you for watching and Happy New Year.